So Ange Postecoglou has been talking in his press conference about the team, injuries and stuff like that. So what we got?
So he says Valise, Solomon, Session and Lo Celso all remain injured going into obviously tomorrow's game, which is unfortunate. In fact, in Manor Solomon, he said he's had a couple of setbacks this week, which is really disappointing. But hopefully, he said next week he should resume full training. So let's hope he is returning on that front. Lo Celso, obviously, very frustrating, isn't it? Still remaining out. It was
it's the same story, isn't it? Every time it's like, oh, he'll be back next week. Don't see him for a month.
Yeah.
He'll be back next week. You don't see him for a month.
So it's a massive shame. Hopefully he can get back to full fitness sooner rather than later. But obviously Maddison, he mentioned, said Maddison wanted to play more minutes against Man City, so hopefully that's a view with him starting in this game. And as you say, Pape Sarr, this game comes a bit too soon for him after being knocked out of the AFCON last night, but he should be available for selection come Saturday against Everton. Other than that, it's as you were pretty much from last game.
Yeah. So let's get into that lineup. We're going for a 4-3-3 formation as per usual. In goal, Vicario. A lot of people saying he made his first mistake of the season against Manchester City. I thought it was a bit harsh on him to say that, but maybe he could have been a bit stronger. But look, obviously we've got no problems with Vicario. He's been brilliant all season.
And he's definitely going to have a lot of set pieces to deal with. I feel like, hopefully he won't, but that'll be Brentford's plan, to pump balls into him, long throws, free kicks. So as many times as he can get a punch or a catch on any of those set pieces, that's going to relieve the pressure and make sure that we're sustaining attack. So he's got a crucial role to play in this game for Vicario for sure. Obviously made his debut against Brentford, didn't he, at the beginning of the season, where he looked a bit shaky, but obviously he's gone from strength to strength since then.
Yeah, so let's hope he puts in a top performance like we know he can. In terms of right back, obviously going to be Pedro Porro, who again has been brilliant all season, but I did feel like he probably had one of his poorer games against Man City last weekend.
Yeah, you can say that probably for a lot of players, but we know, I think he's so important in this game, Pedro Porro, because of the quality he has. If Brentford are going to be pushing us as well, and as well with their wing backs, they're going to be trying to exploit that space in behind Porro and potentially Udogie as well, but more Porro just because he's left less defensively secure in his way. He likes to go forward a bit more than Udogie, I feel. So I think they're going to be targeting that. They definitely targeted that space on the first day of the season, but that was Emerson Royale playing at the back on that occasion. So Porro has a crucial role to play in this game to make sure that we're just dominating Brentford on all areas of the pitch.
Yeah. On the right-hand side of the centre-backs, obviously going to be Cuti Romero, who most likely will be captain on the day, and he's got a big task on his hands to quieten down Ivan Toney.
Yeah, I feel like he might be Maupai's side. I think Toney will probably might be the other side, where Van de Ven is. Maupai is just a nuisance. He's one of those players who doesn't have the loads amount of quality, but what he makes up for it is just his sheer shithousery. He just winds people up. He's always pressing. He's just a nuisance to be around. So I hope that he doesn't wind Romero up. That's what I'm worried about. And then they get into old scrap and something stupid happens. Romero does something stupid. So that's definitely a matchup to be wary of as well. But on quality wise, Romero will be licking his lips about Maupai in terms of eating enough for dinner. Yeah,
absolutely. And I feel like they could get in a bit of a scrap, to be fair. Romero and Maupai, both kind of hotheads. But it'll be an interesting matchup. Obviously, alongside him will be Mickey Van de Ven, who came back flourishing against Man City. An absolutely stellar performance. Let's hope he can put a performance of that ilk in again.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing I would say about Van de Ven is one of the few weaknesses I've seen from him so far in the Spurs shirt is sometimes I feel when teams go direct to him, I just remember one specific occasion when it was Ollie McBurney for Sheffield United. They stuck him on Van de Ven and he was able to dominate Van de Ven in the air and with his strength. So Ivan Toney will definitely be looking at that situation thinking maybe I can get the better of him physically. Obviously, any passes over the top, Van de Ven's going to be able to deal with. We know that. But if Brentford are able to play accurate passes into Ivan Toney's chest, I feel like Van de Ven might struggle to deal with that a bit because that's not his forte, I feel. Even though he's a big lad, tall defender, he maybe has a bit of work to do in terms of just his upper body strength in terms of battling strong centre forwards like Toney. So definitely a situation to watch, but I'm sure Van de Ven will come into this game with a plan and I'm sure he'll be able to deal with him.
It's interesting with Van de Ven because if you just look at him without watching him play, you would think like he is good in the air because he's big, he's strong, big physique.
He's not bad in the air, but just when he comes up with really strong attackers, sometimes he can struggle.
Yeah, well, he does, exactly. He does have that tendency, and you wouldn't think that, though, would you? Seeing his physique and seeing how tall he is and stuff like that. But hopefully he can match up to the task, because Ivan Toney is very good in the air. On the left-hand side, obviously, Destiny Udogie, who I thought had a really good game defensively against Man City, but going forward wasn't that great.
Yeah, and I can see this game playing more to his strengths. Hopefully he can get forward a bit more. We're going to need him as well, because how Brentford like to play, they like to exploit the space, and we've seen how Udogie can be invaluable with his covering him behind, especially in recent weeks. It's saved us so many times. Most of the time it's been without Van de Ven there, but I think on this occasion, just like Paul on that right-hand side, they're going to be looking for that space in behind Udogie, but it's harder to find that space because of Udogie's physical traits. He always gets back in position. So he's got an important role to play as well, Destiny, and hopefully we can see him a bit more of him in the final third in this one.
Yeah, so that's the back line as you were from the Man City game. In the number 6, we're going for Rodrigo Bentancur, and I feel like since Rodri has come back into the team, haven't really seen the best of him as of yet, as like those levels that we saw in the first 20 minutes of Aston Villa. Be great to see that in this game, and I want to see Rodrigo Bentancur really dictating the tempo of this game.
Yeah, 100%. Brentford have some very tough midfielders, Jensen, Janelt, and potentially Damsgaard. I'm not sure 100% who's going to be playing in centre mid for them, but they like to be very combative. They like to turn it into a bit of a war in the centre mid. So Bentancur is going to have to be up for that for sure. But on the ball, what we need him to do is to do something we haven't seen from him since he's come into the team, like really drive through the midfield like he used to do last season. Use that ball carrying ability we know he has. I don't know why we haven't seen it so much. I don't know if it's a lack of confidence or maybe he's just a bit rusty since he's come back into the team, but we haven't seen that immense ball carrying ability we know Bentancur can have. And if he can bring that to this game, it's going to really help open up Brentford.
Alongside him on the right-hand side, we're going to go for Ollie Skipp, actually. And I think Ollie Skipp, last couple of games off the bench, starting against Man United as well, I thought he's put in really good displays, and probably he's in his best moment of the season so far. So in terms of the other midfielders, I think Ollie Skipp actually deserves to start in this game.
Yeah, had a decent cameo against City, didn't he, last time out? Lovely little turn, I remember, on the edge of his own box to help us get up the field.
Doing kick-ups over Man United midfielders as well at times.
Yeah, he had a decent game there as well. Obviously, he started the first game of the season against Brentford, but that was like a very low point for him because he obviously played awful and has been dropped for a long time after that game. And it found him a long time to find his rhythm. I'm not going to completely say now he's found his rhythm again and he's ready to go. But look, of late, there have been some better performances from him. I remember the Everton game. He was decent. Man United, he put in a decent display, and then off the bench against City, he contributed to the team as well. So I've got a feeling as well, it was a toss between having Skipp there and Kulu, but I just feel like with Brentford's tough central midfielders and how combative they are, I think Ange is going to want a bit of strength and steel in there, and I hope Skipp can bring that.
Alongside Skipp to make up that midfield three will be the return to the starting lineup to James Maddison. And I mentioned before the creative void in the team, and him being back in the side should go some way to solving that.
Yeah, and hopefully having him in the starting lineup will bring a massive boost to the team. We know how important he was in the first half of the season. It was a shame that the cameo against Man City, he didn't really show anything, wasn't even able to get on the ball just because we were just so suffocated by Man City in that period. But hopefully in this game, he's going to see a lot more of the ball. He's going to show what he can provide to the team. And I think what he'll do ultimately is bring more control to the team as well, which I definitely think has been lacking since he's been out of the team. So hopefully he can add to those bits of quality in the final third. And as well, while we're controlling the game, he's going to have a big element to say about that.
So midfield three of Bentancur, Skipp and Maddison. On the right-hand side, we're going to see a return on the wing to Dejan Kulusevski.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the right decision to do that because Kulu obviously we know likes to cut inside, and how Brentford like to play with a back three. Where the space is going to be on the edges of those back three in between the centre back and the full back, and it's going to need space to really exploit that. And I don't know if Kulu's the right guy, but Johnson has been woefully out of form. I think maybe a change needs to be made, and Kulu back on the right has been looking decent, did look decent against Man City in the latter stages, and that is something we've been resorting to when Johnson's been failing and we've been having to make a change. So we're thinking with Skipp coming back into the centre, the only option has Kulu back on the right. But I wouldn't be surprised if in the second half he goes back to Johnson coming off the bench.
Yeah, and it's a good option to have as well. Like against tiring legs, the Brennan with his pace should be able to cause some value in the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes. In terms of our number 9, obviously will be Richarlison, a man on form at the moment. Didn't get a goal against Man City, but definitely performed well.
Yeah, definitely. He's been really improving his all-round game, which I've been really happy about. Obviously, his goal-scoring form is we've all noticed that 6 goals in his last 7 games. I think overall now he's been playing much better. But I think it's so encouraging watching him actually the ball get fired into him and he can actually make it stick and trap a ball and bring other players into play, which he was really struggling to do at the beginning of the season. When we were finding our feet in the season, those were the big flaws in his game, and those are really tightening. So hopefully in this game, I know Brentford very tough. Centre backs very good aerially as well. So do I see him getting much joy aerially? I'm not 100% sure, but hopefully if we can whip some balls across the face of goal, he can be getting on the end of those. But it's going to be very difficult to get those moments against a back three. Yeah,
we know Richarlison's a battler as well, so I want to see like Werner. Sorry, spoiler there for the left-hand side, but it is Werner on the left. But I do want to see Werner and Kulusevski, hit that byline and get cutbacks to Richarlison, and hopefully he can be there in the right place at the right time to stick the ball in the back of the net. But in terms of Timo Werner, how do you think he can impact this game?
Yeah, I think obviously the first couple games we've seen flashes, but haven't seen what we want from him, which is him getting to the byline, creating chances, flashing those crosses, flashing those passes across the face of goal, getting crosses in. We need to see that more in this game. Now, hopefully, this will be the first time he starts in a game where we're dominant, we're having lots of the ball. Hopefully, he can see a lot of the ball on that left-hand side. I feel like his touches have been restricted in the last couple of appearances, albeit when he has had the ball, he's had flashes of quality. So what I want to see from Werner is when Kulusevski has the ball on that right-hand side and he cuts inside, I need him to be darting to that back post, because that's where there's going to be space. That's where there's going to be opportunity. When he's on the ball, we need him to be driving, taking on players and creating chances. And I don't think it's his forte, but hopefully in this game, that is something he can start to show he can do.
All right, well, let's run through that predicted lineup with you guys one more time. In goal will be Vicario, right back Pedro Porro, left back Destiny Udogie, centre backs Coutinho Romero and Mickey van de Ven, Rodrigo Bentancur, Ollie Skip, and James Maddison as a midfield 3, with Dejan Kulusevski, Timo Werner, and Richarlison as the front 3. I mean, I am kind of positive about that lineup. I think the front 3 does need a bit of work, to be honest, but seeing as the players are starting to filter back through now, should be Pape Matar back in for Everton, we're starting to see the team really come back, and I think Spurs are going to kick on now from now to the end of the season. But this game will be difficult. In terms of our predictions, I am going for 2-0 to Spurs. Sim is going for 3-1 to Spurs. Once again, put your predictions in the comment section below.